Keeping Up with Jones, the Lonnie Jones podcast adventure. I am your host, Lonnie Jones. My wife Jackie and I moved to the city of Huntsville in 1986 for me to be a youth and family minister. I have been a minister since 1980. I have served in this community as a police chaplain assigned to a SWAT team since 1992, and I've been in private practice as a licensed professional counselor since 1998. I'm also an adventure educator and an avid outdoorsman. I dabble in rock climbing and I goof around with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Our life has been full of many wonderful experiences and some just outright adventures. I used to write about those things in a little church bulletin article. So now instead of asking you to read those things, we're just going to talk about them in our podcast. And as we talk about them, we're going to talk about the facts. The facts lead to concepts, and the concepts lead to application. One caveat about the facts is, for the most part, we're going to tell you the facts just as they happened. But every now and then, we're going to tell you the way other people have told us they remember it happening with a little bit of embellishment. It's all good, clean fun and for educational purposes. Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoy Keeping Up with Jones. Faulkner University announces a 60% tuition discount for members of the Church of Christ. Now, there are some guidelines. This 60% tuition reduction is applicable to adult undergraduate Bible degrees or graduate Bible degrees from the Curley Graduate School of Theology in the VP Black College of Biblical Studies. You must satisfy all admission requirements and maintain satisfactory academic progress. You must remain continuously enrolled, including summers, until the completion of the degree. You must provide a letter from an elder or minister, preferably on church letterhead, verifying that you're an active member of a Church of Christ congregation prior to your initial enrollment. This offer applies to adult undergraduate degrees such as biblical studies, youth and family ministry tracks, and it also includes graduate degrees. And those are the Master of Arts in Biblical Studies, the Master of Arts in Family Life Ministry, or a Master of Theology, and it also applies to the PhD in Biblical Studies. For undergraduate inquiries, please contact Adult Enrollment, 334-386-7140, 334-386-7140, or Adult Enrollment at Faulkner edu. That is Adult Enrollment at faulkner.edu. For graduate inquiries, please call 334-386-7539, 334-386-7539. Graduate enrollment at faulkner.edu. That is graduate enrollment at faulkner.edu. Faulkner University is a sponsor of Keeping Up with Jones, the Lonnie Jones podcast adventure. TKM Incorporated in Moss, Tennessee is a construction company that specializes in erosion control, seeding, and soil, hydroseeding, hydromulch, minor excavation, and silt fence. They also provide traffic control and construction signs. Their business is keeping people safe, but their passion, their mission, is they wish that all men could be saved. TKM has adopted the nickname the King's Men because as they serve you, they also serve the King. If they could provide any of their services for you, please contact them at 931-243-3958. That is 931-243-3958. Or you can contact them on the net at tkminc2001 at twlakes.net. That is tkminc2001 at twlakes.net. TKM Incorporated is a sponsor of Keeping Up with Jones, the Lonnie Jones podcast adventure. I was in room 618 of the Doubletree Hotel in Richardson, Texas. I was just about an hour away from having to go do my thing at this youth conference. I was going to teach an adult class for about 2 hours with Ben Hayes. And then the skit group that I work with was going to perform, and then I was going to have to speak Saturday night and Sunday, and we'd already made like a 13-hour drive to get there. And so I'm sitting in my hotel room looking over some notes and things, and suddenly there's a knock at my door. I wasn't particularly worried about who might be at my door, so I never even looked out the little peephole. And by the way, I usually can't see out the little peephole without standing on something, but I swing the door open, and there, standing in the hallway, is a monster. Who would leave a monster at my door? Let's be clear. By monster, I mean an energy drink. I don't mean a heffalump, a woozle, a wendigo, or a werewolf, but those little caffeinated fizzy drinks that come in the really cool decorated tin cans. Someone had surprised me and left me a monster. We were in such a position and it wasn't convenient to leave the hotel and go out and buy snacks, for survival. And Derek and Lisa, my really, really good friends, had found a resource where they could get Monster energy drinks, and they brought one to my room and left it in the hallway. Well, I darted around the corner to find them standing there smiling at this little gesture that they did. They knew I was tired, I was road weary, I was sleep deprived, and I was in caffeine deficit. And they brought me my no sugar, no caffeine vice of choice. A really, really charming thing to do. And then I heard my door close. I had successfully locked myself out of my hotel room. And that's not really a problem. The staff at the Doubletree is exceptionally nice. And at my age, nobody even judges stuff like that. They just think it comes with the territory. And locking yourself out of your hotel room is not near as embarrassing as not being able to get out of your hotel room. I showed up at a thing one time and said, I had trouble getting out of my hotel room. I was almost late. Inside my hotel room, there were only two doors. One led to the bathroom, and the other had a "Do Not Disturb" sign on it. I was really, really thankful when the housekeeping lady let me out. This was the second time in about 10 days that somebody had just gone out of their way to bring me a treat. For some reason, Jackie and I had come to town in the same vehicle. I think I only had a limited number of clients, and so she dropped me off and left me at the office, and then she went and was looking at tile and the different things that she was doing for some of her redecorating at the house. And I'm sitting at the desk doing a little paperwork, working on my computer, and I look up, and there she stands in my doorway. Now, seeing her anytime, any place always brings a smile to my face, but she was standing there with one of these little special treats. She had surprised me with this, and it just brought such a smile to my face. And Jackie said, when I saw that smile on your face, it really made me feel good. It made me feel like you. You see, when she used to teach school, she was a prisoner at Huntsville Middle School, and she couldn't leave the campus for any reason. And so oftentimes during my day, I would go by and buy lunch for her. I wanted to rescue her from school cafeteria food. And I might bring her a Hershey bar, or I might stop by and get her a frosted lemonade from Chick-fil-A, or I might even just bring her Chick-fil-A sandwiches. But she brought me this little treat and that charming smile on her face, and then for her to say, "Hey, I kind of felt like you." That was pretty cool. I discovered a long time ago that little things mean a lot. I've had so many small gestures done in my life, people being considerate and thinking of me. I can remember being a university student and opening my mailbox and someone just deciding to send me $5. Well, in those days, $5, an inconsequential amount of money for them, was the difference in was I going to eat at McDonald's or have to eat in the cafeteria. Sometimes that $5 was the differences. Am I going to have the money to put gas in my car to go somewhere and preach? You see, if you have it and I don't, and you share it, it may not be a big deal to you, but it's huge to me. If you know how to do it and I don't, and you'll either show me, teach me, or do it for me, what seemed like a small thing for you becomes something that was insurmountable for me. We just really don't realize how big a little thing can be to someone. On October the 5th, 2018, Troy Farmer and I were climbing outside of Chattanooga, a little place called Leda. Actually, there's two places called Leda. One is called Upper Leda and one is called Lower Leda. It's a very small cliff line not super, super tall, maybe 80, 85 feet if you really stretch it. But it's a little cliff line located just below the Montlake Golf Course. Now, in the old days, you simply followed the winding road and you parked at any number of the emergency pullouts, and you just simply walked up to the rock. Now, this little winding road is treacherous. It's switchbacks, and it is traveled by the residents who live near the Montlake Golf Course, and they are NASCAR-obsessed Mario Kart enthusiasts who still think that driving their cars like they're bootleggers is a thing. And so when you decide that you're going to park your truck at that little pull-off and cross that road, it's a commitment move. And so on the first trip we took there, I shouldered my backpack from the tailgate of the tactical Toyota, a backpack that has all my climbing gear, has my harness in it, has one rope for rappelling, and then an actual 60-meter climbing rope. And I ran across this little treacherous ribbon of road in a Frogger-esque gesture, only to find Troy Farmer doubled over in the leaves. He couldn't speak. His face was red. I began to talk to him, and I was finally able to decipher one word out of his mouth, and the word that came out of his mouth sounded like Oompa Loompa. Apparently, a short man with a stocky build in a top-heavy backpack, complete with ropes hanging out of the top, running across the road, gave Troy some kind of a childhood memory of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory that he found very, very amusing. On this day, the residents of the community had complained, and we were no longer allowed to park at the pullouts. I wasn't going to get out of my truck and Oompa Loompa run across the pavement. We had to park at the top, and we were going to walk down this trail to access this climbing area. Now, the access to this trail is not super clearly marked. My last name is neither Lewis nor Clark. And so as we began to wind our way down from this, the trail intersected a power line. And instead of going down below the power line, we followed the power line access trail. So the approach to this climbing that is described in the guidebook as easy to moderate became strenuous and treacherous. We start walking down this thing, and it's a goat path. We encountered so many dangerous situations walking down this thing that I felt like at the end of it, I was going to have to drop a ring into Mordor. The trail was so difficult, it was reminiscent of the first time I took Tim Orbison over to O'Shaughnessy Point over at Montesano State Park. I was just going to take him in there, and we were going to rappel. It's maybe 1.5 miles in there, but it was hot, and we had backpacks, and Tim was unaccustomed to carrying that kind of gear. But it was much less gear than Troy and I had at this point. But as we walked in, I remember Tim saying, "Well, I hope I'm the one that falls and gets hurt." And of course, I had to say, "Why in the world would you say something like that?" He said, "Because if I get hurt, I don't have to run out of here to find help." Well, at 12:39, it ceased to be funny. Troy and I had been climbing, and a rock had broken during the very first climb. The rock that had broken was securing a critical anchor, and it resulted in what would have been a minor fall and turned it into a major fall. Miraculously, and I'm not really exaggerating that much, miraculously, I was able to catch him and arrest that fall. I should not have been able to physically do it, and I should not have been able to do it due to the speed of the event and due to the physics of the event. But I was able to catch the rope and keep him from crashing to the ground. The only thing that hit the ground, and it was due to the stretch of the rope, was his heel. When the dust settled and we recovered a little bit of composure, I assessed him for injuries, and it was determined, hey, the only thing that was hurt on him was his heel. It would turn out that the large bone in the back of his foot had completely broken in two. So I'm sitting here at the bottom of this rock. My friend is still roped up. He's still got a harness on. And I'm thinking about the trail we just used to come in. And the prospect of getting him out was daunting. I could only envision the trail that we'd used coming in. And on part of that trail, we decided, hey, we must be in the wrong place. And so we had actually rappelled down a small bluff to make access easier than it was. I couldn't imagine, first of all, getting him to that point and then getting him beyond that point. And at this stage in the situation, I'm unwilling to do any exploring. I've got a guy who can't walk, and I'm going to have to explore and find. So the only way to go is the way you came. I've got to get him to that point, and I've got to get him there, and I can't get him there without gear, because if I've got to get him over this last little rock obstacle, I'm going to have some ropes and some slings and some pulleys and some carabiners. So now I had to move him plus the equipment I'd need to do a vertical rescue. Given the choice of leaving the gear to get him out, that's a choice I was willing to make. Just leave the gear in the woods and hope it's there if you ever get to come back. But I had to get him out, and I had to get him out with some of the gear. Turns out, there were some younger people. There were two couples, and they were climbing just around the corner from us, and they'd heard the fall maybe, or they heard the rock break. I really don't know how they knew we were in trouble, but they came over about this time that we decided to try to move. I'd already gathered the rope off of the rock, and I had coiled it up and stuffed it in a backpack, and I got Troy, in a comfortable place. We've really, really found out soon that attempting to walk, even supported on the shoulders of other people, resulted in grave discomfort. Apparently, that heel being broken, if you hang that extremity down and you swing it back and forth, trying to hobble out, that movement created a lot of pain. Now, I knew he was hurt. I know how bad he was hurt, but I knew he was really, really, really hurt when he declined to let the girls help him out, because he had the opportunity to walk out of here with his arms wrapped around these two young, beautiful climbing girls. In fact, I probably thought he might be in shock when he turned that down. As strong and as fit as these girls were, because they were climbers, they were actually very tiny. And they really didn't have the physical ability to carry Troy or help Troy get out. The young men who offered to help him get out, just the swinging of his leg was impossible. So we're just going to try to crawl out. So as we start moving out, one of the girls just picked up his backpack. One of these tiny little rock climbing girls just reached over and grabbed Troy's pack. Now, a climber carrying a backpack's no big deal. They do it every time they go climbing, because you have to carry gear. Mountaineers actually climb with their backpacks, and big wall climbers will climb and then haul their pack up on a different line. So climbing with a backpack, or seeing a climber with a backpack, is no big deal. I was at a place where I might have to choose, hey, I'm going to get Troy out of here, I'm going to get this equipment out of here, and the obvious choice being Troy. But I don't have to make that choice, because this tiny little person has decided, this is what I can do, and this is what I will do. It's very painful to watch your friend try to crawl out of the woods. But crawl he did. Now, we'd crawl a little bit and we'd rest a little bit. We'd crawl a little bit and we'd rest a little bit. But he said that crawling was better than trying to walk out, and way better than being jostled around with people trying to carry him out. But at least he wasn't crawling and trying to drag a backpack with him, and I wasn't trying to carry two backpacks out and try to help him. I finally got a signal on my phone, and I had called 911, and I knew the paramedics would be en route. And at some point, as we were moving across this ledge, and it's not really a ledge, it's just like a terrace that separates, levels of the rock, I could see the road. I could see the aforementioned winding road below us, and I came up with a plan. Hey, if we can stop that paramedic, if we can stop that ambulance here, instead of them meeting us where we parked, we'll just lower him to the road using a rope and a mutton hitch. And we saved ourselves a great amount of time and a great amount of energy, because when they stopped that vehicle down there, I was able to lower him almost directly onto the stretcher. He fell at 12:39 and was in the hospital at Soddy Daisy and on drugs by 2:30. It's an 18-minute ride from Lita to the hospital. And so, we really got him out of there with quite a bit of efficiency. We got him off the rocks and to the hospital in less time than it actually took us to get to the climbing site from where we parked. And all this was because of the help of some strangers. And I'm not talking about the medics, I'm not talking about the paramedics, I'm not talking about the doctors, I'm not talking about the ambulance crew. I'm talking about 4 young adults. And although they didn't have any expertise in anything except, hey, I can carry a backpack, they could carry stuff. And they carried stuff. They helped me retrieve the gear that we were going to have to leave on the wall. They helped me with the ropes. They helped me with the packs. And they helped my friend by simply helping him carry his burden. It may seem to you that energy drinks and rock rescue don't have anything in common, but in this case, they actually do. They both involve kindness. Never underestimate the power of a little thing. Never underestimate a kind word, a kind deed, or just being kind or showing kindness. It may be that little bit of help somebody needs. It may be that little bit of burden you take off their shoulders and put on yours is just what they need. It may be that little thing that you would think is inconsequential made their day better, made their day brighter, or made their task easier. J.R.R. Tolkien said through the wizard Gandalf, and I think Gandalf's talking to one of the little hobbits. And I don't think you expect hobbits to be heroes. I think that's the point of the whole thing, is you have wizards and giants and eagles and warriors and rangers. And the hero is a little thing. Gandalf the wizard said these words: "It is the belief that only a great power can hold evil in check. But that is not what I have found. I have found that it is the small things, the everyday deeds of ordinary folk, that keeps the darkness at bay. Simple acts of kindness and love." Using the tool of shortwave radio, World Christian Broadcasting literally covers the world every day with the gospel. They use 2 large curtain antennas. One is located in Anchor Point, Alaska, and the other in Madagascar. They send out messages that are recorded at their international home in Franklin, Tennessee. They make available 40 hours of broadcast every day. The broadcasts are made in English, Chinese, Russian, Spanish, Portuguese, Korean, English for Africa, and Arabic. They would love for your group to visit them. You can bring your ladies group, your youth group, or your men's group. Just give them a call at 615-371-8707, 615-371-8707, or you can go to 3Ws and a dot, worldchristian.org, find the Donate Here button, and make a financial contribution to support this work that literally covers the world every day with the gospel. World Christian Broadcasting, in cooperation with Keeping Up with Jones, the Lonnie Jones podcast adventure.